Thanks, Jess, for introducing me. Uh, if you had had this meeting along these tracks 3 years ago, about 8 o'clock at night, you'd see about 60 women and children sleeping along this same track, especially in the summertime. People always assume that doing homeless ministry will be hardest in the winter. But most churches are activated to help us do this work when it's extremely cold outside. And since many of us who have the heart for the work, but not the knowledge of the work, we do what we know to do. And so when it gets cold, we're going to open our doors. But the situation here in Memphis has always been June, July, first 2 weeks in August is the worst time for homeless women and children especially. Now, the Hospitality Hub, because we've been able to partner with our mayor and our city council especially, and other elected officials in the city, we've been able to get together and build a zero barrier shelter for women. And on day one, we filled that thing up. And we have not had a vacancy for more than 7 or 8 hours since. In addition to that, we have a studio program, which is like tiny houses. If you're not from Memphis, we don't call them that here. But never a vacancy. Because just like in your city, in this city, homelessness is a crisis.
Yes, sir. Yeah, right.
It's an emergency. When I see a woman sleeping in her car, when it's 100-degree weather, with her 3 children, and the children are all covered in mosquito bites, because y'all know this is Memphis.
Right.
We have dinosaur mosquitoes here. And they come and see you and they're bitten from head to toe. For us, that's an emergency. When a woman finally gets the courage to leave that man who's about to beat her to death, and she leaves the house without her bra or her shoes or her identification, we need to have a safe landing place for her, and it should not be along these railroad tracks out here. And I refuse to let it be. When the team refuses to let it be, our mayor has said no to that. As you travel around this country, you see homeless encampments all over in just about every major city. You won't find one here because we've decided we're not going to have it. Because people living under bridges is an emergency. People living under overpasses and in cardboard boxes is an emergency. People being food insecure, it's an emergency. What can we do as church folks, as Christian people, as pastors? I'm a former pastor. One of the things I decided while I was finishing up seminary was that I don't need to be in the pulpit. I need to be here in the street doing this work. Amen? The pastor upstairs said, you do what you can do, and God will help you do that which you can't do. Amen? And so, one of the things that I was blessed with in seminary was a professor who knew a lot about outreach. And we didn't have a formal outreach class, but he told us it was going to be important for us to, number one, be able to raise money. Because none of this stuff is free. Is it? It's not. Number 2, you can't be no coward. When you see someone who's dirty from head to toe, who's hungry, who seems angry, frustrated, we can't be angry and frustrated. Because I haven't had my socks on for 4 days and they're not wet. I'm not wearing shoes that don't fit my feet. Amen? One of the things that he really railed against was, as churches, we decided to help homeless people with peanut butter crackers and old clothes.
My Lord.
That's not what's needed.
That's right.
What's needed, I'm about to tell you, is teamwork. My church needs to be in conjunction and teamwork and partnership with your church, with the political people downtown, with the homeless agencies. We have to be working in partnership. We're not going to run out of homeless people. We don't have to be in competition with one another. We have to work together. And this is why when you get in your car and drive around, do we have poverty? Absolutely. Do we have 8,000, 9,000 homeless people walking up and down the street? We do not. It's because, number one, my agency is excellent.
All right.
It's probably the best in the United States.
Okay.
And I'm not telling you what I think, I tell you what I know, because Los Angeles has contacted us, DC has contacted us, Huntsville has had us come and talk to them about their problem. And I think I'm going to Atlanta. But it's about teamwork, it's about partnership, it's about really believing that a change can be made. Do I believe we're gonna get rid of homelessness? Not unless we build a big spaceship and fly them to Mars. We're not getting rid of it. But can we cure homelessness for this family? For this individual who just got out of jail, for this man who just left the military with PTSD. My former next door neighbor was in the Navy and he came back, and the movement of that boat, it did something to him. Never was the same. And when he finally got back to St. Louis, Missouri, which was my hometown, he spent about 2 or 3 days talking about it, then he blew his brains out. No homeless veteran hits the streets in Memphis without being directed to the hospitality hub. Because if you've served, you don't have to be homeless. If you're a woman who's experiencing domestic violence, I promise you, we're gonna move the earth with God's help, that you're not gonna be outside. If you're a woman with children walking up and down the street, we tell everybody, if you see a woman, say something to her and send her our way. Do we always have an answer? No. Is she sleeping outside? No. This room's too big for me to do a question and answer session. I see a lot of questions. But this work is important. And if I can say anything, leave anything with you that I think is a gem, a jewel that you can take back to your city. Nobody should be outside. Nobody should be sleeping in a tent. It's inhumane. Nobody's children should be 9 years old, 10 years old, when the last time they went to school was kindergarten. I wish that was a strange thing, but it's not. Dr. Stewart told me not to preach, so I'm keeping my voice right. Keeping it right here. Right here. She said, this is not a sermon, keep it right there. She said, she's just giving a talk, so I'm just gonna give a talk. Right, Ron? All right, I'm gonna leave y'all with that. If y'all, I'm in the room if you have questions for me, you wanna talk to me. I can't invite all of y'all to come see our place, but it is a model for homeless services in the United States, not in the state of Tennessee. Amen. And when we had, I'm gonna say this to you, because your sermon really did inspire me, and it just reminded me of how we went from having 2 full-time employees and 2 full-time employees. I became executive director there in 2018, and we took off like a rocket. Amen. My executive director before me, she was awesome, but God had a plan for us. I was in a room to defend a grant that I did not write with 4 people, all of them white. And they told me to come in, I couldn't bring pencil or paper, and discuss what it was we were trying to do on Washington Avenue. I went in and sat down and they peppered me with questions about this thing we were trying to do. And I think I did pretty good. And one of the men in the room asked me to follow him. And I followed him around the corner to his office, and he pointed to a picture on the wall. It was a picture from the 1950s of an airplane. I'm going somewhere with this, Rob. An airplane, and there was a man standing in front of the airplane, and it was his dad. I said, hey, that's a bomber, that's a B-1, and that's Fairchild Air Force Base. He said, yeah, you mentioned that you were stationed there. I said, yeah, I drove for the survival school. And he said, my dad always complained about these people who took them to survival school and dropped them off. He said, if my father was here today, he'd punch you in your mouth. I said, I've had a lot of people tell me that. He said, what I'm gonna say to you today is, we're gonna fund this thing that you're trying to do for women in the state of Tennessee, in the city of Memphis. And he wrote me a $5 million check that day. And you'll see what we've done with this if you stop by our campus. Y'all be blessed. Leave here with the seeds you need to grow this thing that God has planted in you. Amen.
On behalf of all of our friends who have gathered this week, even those who are not in this space, we want to thank you for the work that you do. What Lott Carey does is to walk alongside of people. And Lott Carey is known for doing work outside of these United States. But every now and then, we stumble upon others that's doing something that we believe God has called us to do. And so we thank you, want to encourage you, want to be an encouragement to you. And let me use, since we're in the context of the church, and say to support you in the ministry that you find yourself. And while we're not able to do a lot, we just want to give you a small token of $2,000 to help what you do. May God bless you. May God bless the works of your hand. And again, on behalf of your own homegirl here, Dr. Stewart, and all of the fine people that's here with us today. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much. A typical Baptist preacher. He didn't do his proper close. Now he wants 30 seconds. So I guess I gave him 30 seconds.
I just wanted to say that something I should have started with was that I'm not the founder of the Hospitality Hub. The Hospitality Hub was founded by 4 churches back in 2007, where poor people, homeless people would come and knock on the doors of these churches. If you're pastoring, associate pastoring, outreach person at your church, you've seen it, they come and say, I got a flat tire. I need books for my child to go to school. I need money to get shots for my kid. I need gas to get back and forth to work. And these 4 churches decided that, you know what, it's not for us, for the pastor to stop doing what he's doing, to go downstairs and hear this plea. What we need is, let's use some spare space on one of our campuses, and we'll have different people go and volunteer, and we'll have people from the seminary come and sit, and maybe we'll hire 1 part-time person or 2, and that's what they did. And it grew, and it grew, and the needs were presented, and then those gaps that needed to be filled, that's what happened. That's how we grew to what we are today. And so without God, of course, we wouldn't be here. But without churches and church folks, we would be nothing. And this city would be in a whole different place. So as you go back home, just think about who you can partner with. Amen?